Good morning, folks. Welcome to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Schroyer, your host, and we're in luck because it's that time of the year that we honor the KSU Master Farmer and Master Farm Homemakers. Today we recognize Kai and Kim Gamble and Don and Lois Martin, inductees into the 2016 class. So make sure to stay tuned after this break from our sponsors. See you in a minute.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. Now let's meet the Gambles.
I always had the love of the farm in my heart, and it all started when I was about 5 years old, riding on a open cab combine with my dad, and I thought I was in absolute hog heaven all day long, eating the dirt.
Was it largely crops and livestock at that point?
Dad taught all the math and science here at Greensburg High School, and he farmed on the side, and it was just a dryland farm, wheat only. And when I got in high school, I convinced Dad that we needed to plant some grain sorghum.
So you expanded in something of a burst then when you took over his operation.
When we started in '89, we started rotating in dryland corn and sunflowers, and as the irrigated side of the operation grew, obviously we had the corn and the soybeans and the alfalfa and the wheat, and that's basically what we're still running. And this coming year, we're going to be about a fourth corn, a fourth irrigated soybeans, a fourth alfalfa, and a fourth wheat with a couple of circles of milo thrown in for our cow herd.
You have kept your hand in the cow herd for all of those years, mostly crops, but a bit of livestock there.
A bit of livestock for all of the grass the family had or what we could rent, but grass is very hard to come by. The land that we put in CRP of my father's has expired. We're building 5-wire around it and expanding the cow herd, and that's my son's side of the operation.
All told, you have something along the line of 9,000 acres, 7,300 acres roughly crops, the rest of it is pasture. And you are a certified seed grower and have been for a while?
We've probably been doing it for 15 years. It was another way to add some value to the business, and it was a way to conserve some irrigation water. And that seed wheat business is huge now since we have the water bank set up down here.
While we're on the crops, you've also ventured into food grade grain sorghum production at some point here?
That was about 4 or 5 years ago, and that food grade grain sorghum was paying an 85-cent a bushel premium compared to non-food grade. The food grade grain sorghum will not yield with the conventional, but by the time you put the 85-cent a bushel premium in, you're still left with more dollars at the end of the day.
I want to spend some time talking about, well, it's an unfortunate development, but it's kind of a hallmark point in your careers as farmers, and that is the tornado in 2007. Your operation rests on the northern edge of Greensburg. Just either one of you or both, talk about that day.
Well, it was a very typical farm day, if you think back, because, you know, it was the 1st of May, so they were getting the corn planted. They were southwest of town, and we knew there was supposed to be rain.
And it took out virtually all of Greensburg, and it took almost a direct hit on your place then, did it not?
We still had a house that was salvageable. We had a roof over our heads once we got the holes plugged up where the chimneys fell off and went through. Once we got the windows boarded up, we still had a house. We still had a place to live, so we had a lot more than some of our friends and neighbors did. But the worst part of it was the cleanup, the absolute cleanup. We had 3 irrigated quarters right on the north edge of Greensburg that we did not plant a crop on that year because we could not get the debris cleaned out of the fields.
Yeah, but you persevered.
After the break, we'll finish up with Kai and Kim Gamble. See you in a minute.
Buying a car shouldn't be this hard. And at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, it isn't. It's actually awesome. Whether you want a new or used car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. Even if you want to custom order a new car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. See Toby's team at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're awesome.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. Now we're going to wrap up with the gambles.
After the cleanup and reestablishing your farmstead, you had to replace a number of outbuildings and presumably a great deal of equipment. That took a while. Was it just diligence that let you get back on your feet?
Ignorance. There's a little bit of that. Well, you know, adrenaline, I think, is most of it, because we were right in the middle of planting season. So I think that's, like you said, perseverance, just one day at a time, doing what we had to do that day.
But that leads into one of the trademarks of your family and your operation. You are very devoted to civic responsibilities. Not only were you concerned and interested in getting your operation back on its feet, but the community of Greensburg proper. Both of you were immensely involved in the recovery of Greensburg. And let's talk about some of the things that you were, in fact, directly involved in.
As we got recovered here, of course, I was chairman of the school board at the time, and I still am, and I had all of that responsibility. There's two people in this community, one of them's deceased now, that really made a huge difference in our outlook and our lives after the tornado, when we didn't have any businesses left on Main Street. Scott Brown and Dale Heft called me up, and they came by and visited, and they had hatched the brainchild of the strip mall that we now have on Main Street. It's a block of Main Street, and it's Kiowa County United. And they pressured me really, really hard that Kim and I needed to give $50,000 to that project, because they were putting $50,000 in. And their attitude was, if they were going to go around asking people for money, they'd better put their money up first, and they did. And Kim and I thought about it a lot and talked about it a lot, and you know, there's lots of other things we needed to do. There's lots of other places we could have spent the money. But when it all boiled down to it, you have to lead by example if you want to be respected in a community. And we had people that gave us $1, people that gave us $5, people that gave us $20. But that's a huge success story.
We talk about the tornado, and people talk about whether it was a blessing or not, and all of the good things that came out of it. We understand that it was bad. People lost their lives, people lost their life savings, they lost things they spent their whole life building. But I think you also have to look at, you know, what has happened for good as a result of it. You can't just look at the bad. And we see a lot of blessings in what we went through.
You both are very much involved in, let's put it this way, normal things.
Yeah.
Farm Bureau, Board of Education, as Kai noted, Co-op Board, Irrigation Board, so on, so on, so on. So you're very much involved. Want to spend a brief moment on something more farm-oriented. Kai, a couple of years back, you were the national winner in the sorghum yield contest, correct?
Correct. We entered in 2003. We actually had a national championship then, and we also had the Bin Buster Award for the highest yield in the nation that year. And we've just been entering ever since, and 2008 is the only year we haven't placed in the top 3 in the nation in some irrigated category, whether it be conventional till, reduced till, no-till. We held the world record at 213 for quite a few years, and then we bettered it to 217, and that only stood a year, and the gentleman from Texas got in the high 240s last year.
I want to talk about your young people as well here. Casey is farming with you. We'll come back to him, but Caitlin is a student at Kansas State University currently, correct?
She is. She is. She's majoring in kinesiology. She hopes to graduate in December 17. That'll be a semester early, and then in the spring of 18, start chiropractic school.
Now, Casey is presently farming with the both of you, correct?
He's learned some things at college that he brought home and is trying out on Dad, and they don't always agree about the best way to do things, but I think he's going to grow that side of the operation. Our biggest limitation is grass right now around here.
But Kai, it has to be meaningful for you to have the next generation come back and farm this place.
Absolutely.
He'll be the 5th generation here.
Let's conclude by asking you what your sentiments are upon being named Master Farm Homemaker, what the recognition means to you.
I don't think there's any farm family in Kansas that does what they do for recognition. They do what they do because they love it. And we're all living the dream to get out of bed every day and go do what we enjoy doing. This is one of the, probably, without a doubt, the most prestigious farm award that can be bestowed upon anyone in the state of Kansas.
I kind of look at it, it's a great honor to receive this award, and I kind of look at it as going forward. I feel like, this might offer a platform for us to, further be ambassadors for what the farm life and rural life in Kansas is like. I feel that there will be opportunities for us to promote the way we live even more.
After the break, let's meet Don and Lois Martin.
Tallgrass Commodities offers producers bulk commodities at a reasonable price with reliable service throughout the whole Midwest. To find out more about Tallgrass Commodities, visit tallgrass.us or call 785-494-8484.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Hi, I'm Annette from Jackson's. Our annual gigantic sale will be this Saturday, where every plant in the greenhouse and in our nursery, from annual to perennial, shrub, tree, or water plant, will be half price. Don't miss our biggest sale of the year.
WIBW Jackson's Greenhouse Garden Club members can shop Friday, Saturday, and Sunday when they present their membership card. They'll receive the 50% sale prices.
Jackson's Greenhouse has what you need today.
Support Kansas agriculture education with an AgriTag. AgriTags are available anytime at your county treasurer. They look great on cars and trucks. For more information, go online to ksagclassroom.org.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. Now let's meet the Martins.
Graduated in 1959 and had the opportunity to rent a little bit of ground the summer before from an aunt. So I knew I was wanting to farm bad.
I was from southern Kansas, just north of Oklahoma. That's where I lived, grew up, and we had a farm, and I learned to run the implements around there, and eventually went up to Emporia and went to college, and that's how I got acquainted with him.
Before we got married, we bought a farm together. And, lawyer thought, my goodness, you guys are sure of yourselves. I guess we was. It's lasted pretty well. But
we got married and had 6 children. They all lived and grew up and have families of their own.
Lois, did you think you would be a farmer's wife when you were growing up, or?
I don't think I was thinking of it. I was being a teacher was what I was at that time, and I was teaching, classes or information for the teachers, and that's how I ended up somewhere or other.
Home ec teacher.
It's a home ec teacher.
But you didn't mind giving that up to be part of the farm?
Well, I used the information for 40 years now.
Don, talk about how you built up the farm over the years then. And now you're operating around 4,500 acres, but did you just plan on steadily adding on as you went along? Did you have a specific plan? What?
After we bought that first 160 acres, before we got married, I guess they had a kind of a reputation that if folks wanted to sell their ground, they'd come and talk to me, and we'd work out some kind of deal. And most of it was on contracts that older farmers wanted to quit, and we started a farming operation with a $4,500 that I'd saved through 4-H projects and trapping.
Thank you.
And then other thing was kind of unusual. I got to skin the dead calves and the steer when the cow would die. Well, that was my income. Was we could skin them and sell. Had a place there in Clay Center that would buy hides, and so we bought the first farm, and then the farm crisis come in. Interest rates went to 18%, and 1 year later they called my loan, wouldn't renew my loan, and we was in bad situation.
But you managed to build it back up.
We started back over with some good help, and
eventually we got back.
I guess we have 2,000 head in the feedlot at Washington, Kansas, another 800 around here.
Being good neighbors has been part of really your story, both of you, in working with the community on a lot of things.
Yes.
From extension work, 4-H. You've done something called community sweet corn that you've made available to the. Tell about that.
We'd always plant a acre or so of sweet corn because you couldn't use that much sweet corn. Well, we didn't. Anybody that wanted sweet corn, we'd tell them where the patch is at. Just beat the coons to it.
After the break, we'll finish up with Don and Lois Martin.
There's a lot of different ways of doing this woodwork, but I could not make a knife without both hands, especially without this thumb. And my thumb was so sore that I couldn't even touch it, and they wanted to fuse it, and I said no, cut it off, because I didn't want it sticking up. And I found out about the Kansas regenerative stem cell and went to Manhattan and had that taken care of in my thumb, and now I'm able to go again.
When your living depends on agriculture, you can depend on KFRM 550 AM. If you're in the southwest three-fourths of Kansas or the northern half of Oklahoma, catch us at 550 AM on the radio dial. But if that isn't you, listen on your cell phone at TuneIn Radio or on your computer at KFRM.com. We promise to keep you informed, entertained, and company as you go through your day. KFRM 550 AM, the voice of the plains. We would like to join your management team.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com. Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at Ag AM in Kansas.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities, big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm, as we wrap up with the Martins.
But you're recognized for your work with the 4-H program, not only on behalf of your kids, but as volunteers locally and so forth. So 4-H was a big part of your lives as well, wasn't it?
Lois was a 4-H agent here, leader here for a number of years.
Were young, I worked with them.
She spent 1 year, one of the best years she ever had was up there with the county extension office. She was the home economics agent for a year and really had a good time. She wrote the interesting stories in the paper. She had so many comments about the interesting stories that she would write every week in the paper. And it was a highlight, I think.
I guess they read them.
Her deal.
Let's talk about your kids briefly, if we might. And all 6 of them are very, very accomplished.
Well, there's my oldest daughter is with the Kansas High School Activities Association in Topeka, and she's doing really well down there. She was a teacher for a while and coach. Then Scott is my second boy. He's a flour miller for ConAgra right now and travels all over the United States. And then Angela was the next one. She's a dentist in Manhattan now and doing well. And then Stephen was the next boy, and he graduated at K-State in flour milling, and he just got transferred to Dallas, Texas here this summer. And we're down to Melanie, and she is a pediatric nurse in Manhattan hospital down here. And then, of course, there's Timothy. What would I do without him? I waited quite a while to get that last farmer.
He's been a good person to work with.
Out of this world, and he pretty much calls the shots today, especially on the farm. I still feed the cattle and things like that, but he's pretty much in charge of the rest of the operation.
One last thing here, what it means to the 2 of you to be named Master Farmer, Master Farm Homemaker, what the recognition signifies to you, Don.
It's unbelievable that with I guess through our hard work and this, that we'd be recognized in the state of Kansas.
Thank you for joining us on That's My Farm. And don't forget, next week about this same time, we'll have more stories from farmers and ranchers from across the state of Kansas. See you then.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.